All right, today we're doing something interesting. We're taking a look at a South Indian classic, the Uttapam. Everyone calls it a healthy breakfast, right? But what's it actually doing to our blood sugar? Well, we're going to find out.
So, this really boils down to a classic matchup, doesn't it? In one corner, you've got the thick, fluffy uttapam. In the other, the thin, crispy dosa. Now, here's the crazy part. They're made from the exact same batter. But one of them is going to spike your glucose more than the other. Any guesses which one it is? Okay, so let's zoom in on our main contender today, the uttapam. What's the big mystery here? So for anyone who hasn't had one, an uttapam is basically this amazing, thick, savory pancake. It's made from a fermented batter of rice and lentils, and it usually comes with stuff like onions, chilies, and tomatoes right on top. It's super filling, totally delicious, and yeah, it has this whole healthy food reputation. But those halos can be a little tricky, especially when we start talking about blood sugar. Look, opinions are great, but what we really need is cold, hard data. So to get a real answer, an experiment was set up. Let's walk through how they did it. And this wasn't some lab experiment. This was the real deal. The meal, one standard tomato onion uttapam. It came with all the classic sides, the sambar and the coconut chutney, and it was all from a popular spot. And of course, the key piece of tech here was a continuous glucose monitor, watching every little change in blood sugar as it happened.
And just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, the whole meal, the uttapam, sambar, chutney, the whole shebang, was estimated to be between 500 and 600 calories. So yeah, this isn't a light snack. It's a proper, substantial meal.
This is what I love about these kinds of tests. The person who ran this experiment literally said they had no idea what will happen. And this is after testing tons of other South Indian dishes. So they went in totally blind. It really could have gone either way, which makes it all the more exciting. Okay, the table is set, the meal is eaten, the data has been collected. It's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see what that glucose monitor actually saw. So, as you'd expect, after the meal, the blood sugar numbers started to climb. But the real question, the only question that matters, is how high did they go? And boom, there's our number, a spike of 35 milligrams per deciliter. Okay, 35, but what does that really mean? Is that a lot? A little? Let's figure it out. Right, because a number like 35 floating in space is kind of meaningless. We need to put it into perspective. And the best way to do that is to see how the Idli Uttapam compares to some of its cousins on the South Indian menu. So let's ask it plainly. Is 35 good or bad? To answer that, we need to compare. And the most obvious comparison is, of course, the dosa. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Remember how I said the batter is identical? It's the same fermented rice and ordered dal for both. So the difference isn't what's in it, it's the shape of it, the architecture, if you will. An uttapam is thick, like a pancake. A dosa is super thin, like a crepe. And that thickness isn't just about how it feels in your mouth. It's simple math, really. A thicker uttapam means you're just eating more batter, plain and simple. And more batter means more carbs. And what do carbs do? They're the main thing that drives a glucose spike. It's a really straightforward but super important connection. Okay, so let's look at the numbers side by side. A dosa, plain or masala, gave a spike of around 32. Our uttapam came in just a little higher at 35. But then, look at idli. Idli is still the king of the glucose spike, way up at 40. So the uttapam actually slots in right there in the middle. Not the lowest, but definitely not the highest. All right, so we've seen the raw number, we've put it in context. What's the final verdict on the uttapam? Let's sum it all up. Let's give the uttapam its final report card. For blood sugar spike, it gets a moderate, a 35. It's not the absolute best, but it's certainly not the worst we've seen. But here's where it gets an A+. The fullness factor. This thing is super satisfying. It'll keep you full for a long time. So when you put it all together, the overall verdict is, yeah, it's a really good, solid choice. So if there's one thing to remember, it's this. Even though the uttapam is way thicker and uses more batter, its impact on your blood sugar is only a tiny bit more than a dosa's. And when you think about how much more filling it is, that's a fantastic trade-off. Looks like that healthy reputation it has, it's pretty much earned it. And that leaves us with one final thought. For now, in this little series of tests, the humble idli is still wearing the crown for the biggest glucose spike. But that could change with the next test, right? So I've got to ask you, what food do you think we should test next? What could potentially knock idli off its throne?